Conspit is a somewhat new company in the sim racing scene. They came into attention with a pedal set that had, apparently, some cheating software. So they sent me one. Disclosure: Conspit sent the CPP.LITE for review via their distributor Race Sim in the United Kingdom. They will not see this review before launch. I say what I want and they have zero control about this video. As always, all opinions are my own. The Conspit CPP.LITEs are quite interesting. I tried the Evo counterparts in Sim Racing Expo and I thought they were excellent. The CPP.LITEs will have a lot of crossover with the Evos, minus a few things on the adjustability part on the pedal sets, mainly on the throttle and the brake. The big thing about these pedals is that they are really well priced for an hydraulic set. The price will hover between regions and between distributors. In the United Kingdom, the CPP.LITEs will be $529 for a 2-pedal set, and it'll be $599 or around that price for the 3-pedal set, which is, for an hydraulic set, incredibly competitive. In Europe, United States, the prices will be around the same area in your denomination, dollars or euros, minus or plus around $50 or euros. Conspit also sent 2 more things for review, but we'll do that in a later part, which will be the GP290 wheel and also the Aris 10Nm wheelbase. I think those are quite interesting, so subscribe to keep up to date. Specs wise, these pedals are built with heat treated aluminum. The throttle and clutch have Hall effect sensors and the brake is hydraulic with an elastomer stack. The elastomer stack can be preloaded to change the brake feel, and the throttle and brake also have multiple holes to change the shaft angle. The higher the shaft in a hole, the stiffer the pedal feel is going to be. For the brake, changing the shaft position requires the preload screw to be undone and pumping the brake a couple of times, much like you do when you're bleeding a car brake line, interestingly enough. The rather slim pedal faces can also be tilted a little bit up and down. One thing that is really interesting about this pedal set is that all pedals will have a rumble type motor that can be individually addressed on Conspit's own software or also in a sim hub, so it will give you a lot of flexibility, and also it's a great feature to have for this price. For the initial impressions, the not so good thing is the pedal base. The mounting base is made out of stiff plastic, which isn't really that bad per se. It's actually quite stiff and durable and it doesn't creak or anything like that, but when you compare it with everything else, that part of the build quality isn't really that good. So in terms of prices and features, the pedals, much like the wheelbases in the GP290 wheel, they're incredibly competitive. Besides the pedal connectors, this electronics box would also connect the power, because you need to run the rumble motors, and also a USB-B type of a USB cable, or printer cabled as I call it. If you don't forget to connect the USB and the power cable first, the assembly process will take you about 30 minutes from unboxing until installing to your pedal base, depending of course what you have in your rig. We need to talk about the software. In Conspit's site there will be 2 versions of this. There will be one called Conspit Link 2.09 and then there's the Conspit 2 Link or Conspit Link 2 version 0.108. The latest version is Conspit Link 2 1.08. This software is incredibly easy to use. So essentially just go to the pedals and it will give you like the information of what's going on. You can have, set your dead zones, minimum, maximum if you want to do that. And you also have vibration motors that depending on which software that you use, and I've been having issues with Le Mans Ultimate because it's not detecting its last version. Probably it needs an update. Even when you use it on SimHub, you can do it on iRacing mode, SimHub, or your own, where it's going to basically connect to the game that this will be compatible to. Assetto Corsa Competizione, iRacing, and thereabouts. And with that, you can basically do whatever you want with it. You can activate it, and for example, for the throttle, you'll have wheel slip or wheel lock, or for the brake, you probably want to have either ABS or wheel lock or something like that, and then you can change the intensity. When you leave it on iRacing mode, iRacing will do its thing, and it works quite well, or you can go directly to SimHub. For SimHub, you can configure this very easily by going to Shake It Motors, and then you can add the motor's output, and then you have before here, you have the Conspit CPP.LITE or CPP Evo, and then you can do the output tuning. You can also change which version or which type of effects you want on each specific rumble motor, and also test if everything is working. I would recommend that you use Conspit Link 2 version 1.08 and update the firmware as well, so you'll have the best compatibility with SimHub. And then over here at the effects profile, just activate the type of effect that you need or wants to use on a SimHub. This is incredibly straightforward and should take you about 2 minutes. As for the cheating software that this pedal set got to be known about, and I made a little bit of fun last year on the video, and it was reviewed by other channels as well. I've inquired Conspit about this because it is really not present on their newest software. What they said was, we have officially canceled this feature with the release of Conspit Link 2.0. Previously, we engaged in discussions with several game developers, including iRacing, who expressed interest in seeing innovation on the software side. Building on these conversations, iRacing even integrated this feature into their game as the launch trigger, a semi-automatic Conspit launch control. However, considering the importance of maintaining a fair gameplay and a competitive balance for all players, we have taken this matter very seriously. As a result, we have ultimately decided to ban this feature from our platform. And you know what? This is a good move. Driving time, and I've been using this for about 3-4 weeks, and I can say that I'm actually impressed with this pedal set. There'll be some natural comparisons because it's an hydraulic set between this and the Asetek Invicta or the Simagic P1000s or even the P2000s. As for the Asetek Invicta, the only thing that this has more in common with the Asetecs will be the throttle or the clutch, because there's a spring there and they work more or less the same, or at least they feel a little bit more or less the same, even though this won't have any adjustability or not as much adjustability, but the brake pedal will be totally different. Even though, it's the same type of principle-ish, the behavior is different. As for the P1000s or P2000s, I haven't tried them or reviewed them before, so I can't give you that information. If I can get the method of comparison before going to the driving part, the closest thing that I've at least found when I tried this, and it was like the first thing that came to my mind, it was the Fanatec V3s minus the brake, and for good reasons, and there's really nothing wrong with that. It's a very dependable pedal set, and they feel more or less the same in the brake and the clutch. First of all, we need to talk about the throttle. The throttle is incredibly generic. It's likely that you ever use something similar like this in other pedal sets. It does remind me of the Fanatec V3, incredibly generic. It has an average throw with an average spring, and you can change the stiffness by changing the preloads. You don't really change the stiffness, just change the preload a little bit. If you change it on the shaft, I moved it one spot up, so it will be a little bit stiffer without a little bit of bounciness that happens sometimes. If you used already a throttle with the spring, this was going to be very similar. Sadly, there's no other spring in the set, so you can change it. Probably you need to procure one yourself. Nothing wrong with the throttle. It does what it needs to do. Gives you enough control. It allows you, to, if you want to stick it at 50, 60, 70%. It's not bouncy or anything, which is good in my book. Now, the make or break of this pedal set will be definitely the brake. And the brake, they advertise it as a hydraulic. Essentially, this is a two-stage. You put an hydraulic fluid against a set of elastomers that are already installed inside a small chamber, which you cannot change, sadly. You can change it on the Evos, and you cannot change the pedal throw. The pedal throw is actually on the longer side. If you are thinking about the Asetek is incredibly short. This is probably 50 to 80% longer, so it has quite a long throw if the Asetek is using the long throw mods, which I definitely kind of like on that one. The pedal, in terms of stiffness, is, I would say, average, because I think the elastomers are on the softer side, though you can change, once again, the brake shaft position to something a little bit higher. Originally, at least on this set, it came on position 2, which they call it you know, the competitive car, essentially a supercar type. For some reason, it's around 500 newtons of force. I change it to the GT3, which is the position up front or on top, and it works very well in my opinion. It works kind of well. It has a good progression, but this is dampened on all of the movement from top to bottom and bottom to top. So when you push it in, you'll have a dampened feel. And coming back, and you probably can see from the camera, the return is a little bit on the slower side. It can make me made faster by changing the position of the shaft one more click, or changing the preload just a little bit. It will have, you know, a stiffer return, a longer return. I didn't find any issues on this position with the return. I did find it with the competitive car that they mentioned. It became a little bit too slow for trail braking on this one. For me, it's really perfect. It allows me actually with the trail braking, and you know, drives incredibly well. It kind of reminds me of a road car, even though they say it's GT3. It kind of reminds me of a road car kind of stiffness on my car when you have, you know, those electronic modes with the pre-fill brakes. It kind of reminds me that. It makes it a little bit stiffer and has, you know, the same type of progression. It's not one-to-one, but you know, it's close enough to warrant a mention here. I like it, but I'm pretty sure that this type of brake won't be for everyone. In terms of precision, I find the brake precise, but once again, it really depends on your muscle memory, because it will be your muscle memory that will like or hate this pedal set. Just like the Invictus, even though I think these pedal sets are a little easier, well, much easier to like than the Fanatec Invictus. One last point to that will be about the vibration motor haptic effects. The haptic effects motors are actually quite strong, and I had to lower them a little bit on a SimHub. We're using SimHub at the moment, and basically it provides good enough immersion for those of you who want something like this. It gives you all the vibrations, and as long as you don't have too many of the effects around in the same motor, otherwise you're going to get confused about it. I think it works quite well, and it provides you the indication if the tires are slipping, if the rears are slipping or something like that, or if, you know, the brake is locking the tires, ABS, something like that. It works quite well. Probably there are stronger haptic feedbacks. These ones work quite well, to the point that to lower the power, otherwise it would be too much on the chassis. So because this is a 3-pedal set, we have to talk about the clutch. And the clutch, as you can see from over there, it has a bright point, and the bright point is more or less here, and then it drops. In terms of strength, it's not very strong. It's incredibly generic. You probably have felt a clutch like this somewhere else. It kind of reminds me of the Fanatec V3s. In some ways, this pedal feels like a direct replacement or a direct upgrade of a Fanatec V3 for some reason. And it works quite well. Sadly, you can't upgrade the clutch strength. Doesn't come once again with any sort of spring. Can change a little bit of the preload on the spring, and you can also do just a little bit of positioning change on the shaft of the clutch, but as it is, it's incredibly good. But I think with everything together, as in we're using in this circumstance, using a Tsukuba with a road car, this pedal set feels really right at home. It feels like the perfect pedal set for this type of circumstances. In terms of controlling the corner, this last corner, and going to the next one, going downshifting with heel and toe, the pedal is incredibly natural. It feels like it was definitely made for this. Feels incredibly good. The heel toe experience in this is pretty good. They don't speak much in heel towing in pedal reviews, do they? No. Yeah, heel towing, very good. The brake as it is, it can be a little bit softer for this type of circumstance, I think. So you have a little more travel, though the return, once again, sadly, because it doesn't have the spring, it won't be as fast. But works really, really well. Go in, even though I missed the braking point. And you go out, shifting up. feels really nice, feels natural. This feels like a natural progression from a Fanatec V3 because the pedals are very similar in a brake and a clutch. Sorry, in a throttle and a clutch. But it has like a much superior brake to the V3s. The price difference, depending on how you set up the V3s, won't really be that much in my opinion. It's, you know, 120, 150 to 200 depending what you buy. But all things considered in pedal world, it's really not that much. And honestly, this is a really good pedal set. So for conclusions, we're talking about a pedal set that has 3 pedals or 2 pedals. It has rumble motors. It feels really nice. It feels well built besides the pedal plate, which is not too bad. Once again, you know, the pedal plate kind of puts it down a little bit, but everything feels so nice. The software is nice. I think Conspit here have some sort of winning formula with the CPP.LITE. It is a really dependable set. It really feels nice. The hydraulic pedal may be something really good, or maybe be a detracting feature depending of what type of return you want from the brake. But in terms of feel, I really like this pedal set, including the brake. Though I must say that, in my opinion, Conspit should provide inside the box maybe some sort of spring to help out with the return, or some sort of a different elastomer stack. In my opinion, I think even for this price, adding that wouldn't cost them that much. You can probably do it for yourself. You can buy it somewhere else, I suppose, and adapt it to your pedals. But, you know, having that from stock with indications from Conspit on how to do it would be something nice to have. For this price, with these features, we're talking about an hydraulic pedal set that I'm not going to say is cheap or affordable, but it is well priced. We'll be reviewing the GP290 and also their wheelbases, so subscribe to keep up to date and tell me in the comments what you think about the CPP.LITEs.